7, and I'm going to give this textured yarn a shot here. Haven't used this one in this pattern before, so we'll give it a go. I may have to go back and re-record these, and you'll never know whether I did that or not. So hopefully it's still in there when you see it. All right, so the textured yarn, like I said, this is from something for making scrub brushes, believe it or not. It's textured to have that extra scrubbing ability, but I thought it looked really pretty and the color kind of goes nicely with this stuff. So we are going to join in a puff stitch. So find a puff stitch around here. Remember, the chain is the one that's sort of coming a bit after it. The puff stitch is the bigger part slightly to the right. So I'm gonna grab this guy here and join with the chain. The reason this is a good round for a textured yarn is that there's no fancy stitches, it's just single crochet and an increase. So we're going to do 3 single crochet. 1. Remember to get into that chain stitch from the last round. That's 2. And 3. So 3 single crochet followed by an increase, so 2 in the same one. Textured yarn is always a little bit more difficult to work with, but it looks cool when it's done. 2 in the same one is our increase, and then we got 3 more to finish out the repeat. So that's 1, this is 2, and that's 3. So there's our repeat. Like I said, a little on the fuzzy side here. We'll see how it looks with the later rounds. As for the count, whether you're using the textured yarn or plain yarn, you're going to start in a puff stitch. You're going to have 3 single crochet, an increase, and then 3 more single crochet. That's what this whole mess is right there. So in a puff stitch, 3 single crochet, increase, 3 single crochet. Go ahead and do that all the way around. I'm going to struggle with this textured yarn and see if I can get it to work okay. Okay, I love the textured yarn. I'm going to keep going, hope it works out well. I can say from personal experience of using yarns like this from time to time, the only thing more difficult than the round using it is the round that comes after, because it is so hard to see where the stitches are. So I tend to follow stuff up from the bottom, from the round below, and see if that helps me out. So this round's going to be a little tough. It's definitely going to be tough for you guys to see on the video because I have a feeling none of this comes out clear on the tape. So hopefully the verbal description will work really well and you'll be able to follow along. So what we want to do is join our lavender yarn. First time we're using that. It's going to be one of our major colors from now on. We are going to use this, or join this lavender yarn in the first stitch in an increase, which seems like it might be impossible for me to find, but actually isn't too bad. I know that my increases were coming after the puff stitches. So if I have one here, here's a puff stitch. I had 1, 2, 3 stitches, then my increase. So right here should be my increase. The first stitch in the increase should be on a little bit in front of it, so that should be it right there. See if this works. And I want 4 single crochet to start. So like I said, what tends to help me is to go up from the stitch below. I know this was an increase, so that means both stitches are going into this light green one below, which means the second stitch should be here. And I'm shooting for the back loop. Shooting for anything I can get my hook into, to be honest. So that's 2, 3, means I come up from here and I look for a loop right there. And 4, I'm coming up from this one, looking for a loop there. So there's my 4th one. The good news is after this I'll have clean stitches to work into, so that should be good. So 4 single crochet followed by an increase. So that's this stitch here. I'm going to follow it up. Find it up here, and now I want an increase. So 2, in the same one. Next up, we're going to do the first of our full overlay stitches. So of course it always has to be after a crazy round like this, but what we want is a treble crochet where we're going to come back down here and go into this, I'll use this here to point it out. I want to go into this pink front loop that's visible right before the green puff stitch. So when we grab that front loop like we've been doing for any of these overlay stitches, we grab it from the bottom and we're going to use that to hook in or connect up our treble crochet. So yarn over 2 times, come down here, grab that pink front loop, yarn over, and now finish your treble crochet just like normal. 1, 2, and 3. So that is our first overlay stitch, and it's going to sort of lay here at an angle going just a little bit past the puff stitch. So I want to skip this stitch here, which is right there, and I want to go 2 more single crochet. I'm going to grab my tail here. 2 more single crochet to finish out the repeat. 1, 2. Now let's check how I did here. My next stitch should be going into that increase. Here's the increase, there's the next one, so it looks like I actually made it. I'm going to check each of these repeats very carefully because again, any mistakes I make here are just going to follow me for the rest of this. I want it to be as clean as possible to make it easier to do. So that's the tough side of the textured rounds, but in the end I think the yarn and the texture just are totally worth it. So again, start in the first stitch of an increase, if you can see it. You're going to have 4 single crochet, an increase, then after that a treble overlay stitch into this pink front loop in front of the first one you see visible in front of the green puff stitch. Remember to skip your stitch back there and then 2 single crochet, finish it out. So again, 4, an increase, the treble overlay, skip a stitch, 2 more single crochet. That's the repeat. Get all the way around. It's going to take me a while to do this one. That's why I'm only doing it once for you. So I will get through this and I'll meet you at the other end. Well, it took a little while, but I got that round through and I'm so glad because I love the idea of leaving this textured yarn in there. I have 1 or 2 other places I may put it in, just depends on how it's looking at that point. So we'll play it by ear and see how it works. For the next round, we're going to go back to the magenta yarn and do another sort of foundation overlay stitch that we'll start building off of from here. So we want to, as we've done a lot of times, find an increase and go in the first stitch in that increase. So here, this is definitely a lot easier to see the lavender yarn here to work off of. So here's an increase. I want the first stitch in that increase. We join with the chain, and that's going to count as my first single crochet. I want 4 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to do the overlay stitch, a treble, kind of like we did here. We're going to do it on this side going into the first pink stitch that we can see after the puff stitch. So you see this pink one right here. So yarn over twice, grab that front loop right there, and do your treble crochet. Remember, that little textured yarn is getting everywhere. Remember to skip 1 stitch after that. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet, an increase, and then 2 single crochet to finish out the repeat. So there it is right there. You're noticing we're starting to get these 2 lines coming up. They're actually going to end up crossing each other pretty soon, and crossing each other a lot actually. These kind of go back and forth a bit. So you want to join for this repeat. You want to join in the first stitch of an increase and start with 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochet. Your treble crochet overlay stitch here is going to go into the front loop, the pink one, after your puff stitch. Remember after that to skip the stitch behind it, then finish out the repeat with 1 single crochet, an increase, and 2 single crochet. That's it. You're going to do that 8 times around, join your ends, and then we're ready for the next round after that. So we're on to round number 10. We're going to join this light blue yarn that we used way back then. We're going to join it again here, and there are no big crazy overlay stitches or puff stitches, but we're going to have some spike stitches in this where we go around the previous round stitch instead of just into the loops, so that we cover it up and it adds some interest and some back and forth with the color. It makes it look pretty cool. So we are going to join in one of the treble. So one of these overlay stitches, we're going to join there, back loop only like we always do, and join with our chain. That's going to count as our first stitch, which is a single crochet. So now we're going to do this little repeat 3 times. We're going to do a single crochet followed by a spike stitch. So a spike stitch, we're not going into the back loop or both loops. We're actually coming all the way down into the loop from the previous round. We're just going to go around this whole stitch instead. So go right in underneath it, draw up your yarn. It's like we're just pretending it didn't exist and we're going right around it. And make sure you bring your yarn back up to the top of the round and finish your single crochet. So it's just like a super long single crochet that goes around the previous row. So that's the little mini repeat. It's going to be a single crochet, a spike, a single crochet. Notice I'm holding the tail in the stitches to help me later. A spike, a single crochet, and a spike. So we did that 3 times. Now we're going to have an increase. Sort of have to sneak an increase in there, so throw 2 in the same one. That's going to count as our single crochet, sort of as we're going back and forth, where we're doing 1 single spike, single spike. So this increase is going to pretend to be our single crochet here, which means we're going to finish out this round with a spike, a single crochet, and a final spike stitch. And you notice we're right up to the treble crochet, so we get to go there to start our next round. So when you look at it, we're just going back and forth, single crochet, spike, single crochet, spike, but when we get here, we've got to throw an increase in. So if you notice, we join in one of the treble crochets, so we're going to have a single crochet, spike, single spike, single spike. We're going to do that 3 times. Then throw our increase in and finish out the pattern with a spike, single crochet, and a spike. That's it. So you need to do that 8 times around. The ones with the spikes are always the weirdest to write down or say what it is, but you usually get into the pattern pretty quickly and have a good time with it. Like I say, we're really just alternating singles and spikes. We're just throwing that increase in there. So do that 8 times around, join your ends, and I'll see you for the next one. All right, we're looking at round number 11. We're going back to the green yarn, and we're going to join in the first stitch in an increase. So we're going to find one of these increases like this one here, join in the first stitch. Our chain will count as our first single crochet, and this repeat's just going to be single crochet and increases. So we're going to do 3 single crochet to start. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Next comes our increase. So 2 in the same one. And now we just have 7 to finish the repeat and get me to the next increase. So 7 single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And note, we're set up, so our next stitch goes into the first stitch of that next increase. So there's our repeat. Nice simple round, should go nice and quickly. It's always nice to have those too. So join in the first stitch in an increase, 3 single crochet before your increase here, and remember that join counts as your first one. So we have 3 single crochet and increase, 7 single crochet to finish the space and get you to the next one there. So that's it for your repeat. 8 times total, 7 more times, and then we start doing more connecting up with these overlay stitches down here.